One celebration, one decision, one moment everyone thought was harmless. That's all it took. Weddings are supposed to mark beginnings. Cameras come out, music swells, crowds cheer. But when safety slips, even briefly, the same recordings meant to preserve joy can end up documenting the final seconds of a life. Tonight, these are the worst wedding deaths ever recorded. Ceremonies that turned fatal in front of guests, cameras, and sometimes the entire internet. The celebration shot. It was a warm evening in the Middle East during a traditional outdoor wedding attended by dozens of guests. The groom had just finished greeting relatives. Music played. Phones were raised. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for, the celebratory gunfire. He was a young man, newly married, smiling, surrounded by family. In this culture, and firing weapons into the air was seen as festive, symbolic, harmless. He wanted the celebration to be perfect. The venue was open ground, packed tightly with guests, children nearby, no barricades, no safety buffer. A warning sign came early. One of the men handling a rifle appeared unsteady on video, laughing, distracted, adjusting his grip as others shouted encouragement. What they didn't realize was that bullets fired upward don't disappear. Footage shows the first shots cracking through the air. Cheers erupt. Several more rounds follow. Then confusion. A sudden pause. People turning their heads. A body drops. At first, guests think someone fainted. The music keeps playing for a few seconds longer. Then screaming begins. The groom had been struck by a falling round. It returned at lethal speed, entering his body from above. No warning. No time to react. Phones keep recording as people rush toward him. Someone yells for help. Others freeze, still holding cameras, unsure if this is part of the performance. Emergency services arrive quickly, but there's nothing to be done. He's pronounced dead at the scene. Officials later confirm the cause, celebratory gunfire. An act meant to honor the wedding became the reason it ended. Afterward, authorities issue renewed warnings. Several countries move to increase penalties for firing weapons at weddings. Viral clips of the incident circulate briefly, then are removed. But the footage exists, a reminder that gravity never misses. But that wasn't the only celebration where tradition proved deadly. The fireworks finale. This wedding took place at a private outdoor venue in South Asia just after sunset. The couple wanted something unforgettable, a grand fireworks display to close the ceremony. Guests crowded near the dance floor, phones ready, children on shoulders. The groom stood near the launch area, smiling, watching technicians prepare. He trusted the professionals. This was supposed to be safe. The warning signs were subtle. The fireworks rig sat closer to the crowd than usual. No clear perimeter, no visible safety briefing. What they didn't realize was that one misaligned tube had shifted during setup. Video shows the first firework launch successfully. Cheers erupt. Then the second launch misfires, angling sideways instead of upward. In seconds, chaos unfolds. The projectile streaks directly into the crowd, striking the groom at close range. The explosion happens at body level. Guests scatter, screams replace music, phones drop, and smoke fills the frame. Bystanders rush in. Someone shouts for water, another yells for an ambulance. The bride collapses nearby, her dress catching ash. Emergency responders arrive, but the injuries are catastrophic. The groom is declared dead shortly after. Investigators later determine the cause: improper fireworks placement and inadequate safety distance. The venue faces lawsuits. Fireworks companies across the region issue new guidelines. Some countries move to restrict pyrotechnics at private events entirely. The video never stops being replayed in true crime compilations. A celebration planned to end with light instead ended with fire. And sometimes, the danger doesn't come from what's launched, but from where the celebration moves next. The wedding convoy. This wedding happened in a European city late at night, and after the ceremony, guests piled into cars for a traditional convoy. honking horns, speeding slightly, weaving through traffic in celebration. The groom was in the lead car. He wanted to arrive first at the reception hall, to feel the energy, to be seen. Phones recorded from multiple vehicles, laughter, shouts, music blasting through open windows. The warning sign came at an intersection, traffic lights ahead, cars bunching too close, speed increasing. What they didn't realize was that the lead car had entered the junction just as cross-traffic accelerated. Footage from a nearby dashcam captures the moment clearly. The groom's vehicle surges forward. Another car enters from the side. There's no braking sound, only impact. Metal folds inward. Glass explodes. The convoy stops instantly. Guests rush out, still filming, a disbelief on their faces. Some scream the groom's name. Others freeze. Emergency crews arrive within minutes. The groom is pulled from the wreckage unconscious. He's transported to a hospital but dies shortly after from internal injuries. Authorities cite excessive speed and failure to yield. Several drivers in the convoy are fined. The video evidence becomes central to the investigation. Cities across the region issue warnings about wedding convoys. Some introduce fines for coordinated reckless driving during celebrations. The footage remains online, a wedding procession that turned into a fatal traffic report in less than 10 seconds. But not every wedding death happens on the road. Some happen when the celebration itself becomes the hazard. The collapsing stage. This ceremony took place at a large banquet hall in Southeast Asia. The couple stood on an elevated stage, surrounded by decorations, floral arches, and heavy lighting rigs. Guests crowded below, recording from every angle. The groom leaned forward to wave. He was laughing, relaxed. This was his moment. The warning sign was almost invisible. The stage platform slightly bowed under weight. A light fixture swayed overhead. What they didn't realize was that the structure had been assembled hastily, without proper reinforcement. Video shows the stage shudder. A crack sound is audible. Then the entire platform gives way. The groom falls several feet, struck by falling equipment. Lights crash down. Guests scream and rush forward. Phones capture everything. The collapse, the dust, the confusion. Emergency services arrive fast, but the injuries are severe. He suffers head trauma and internal bleeding. He's pronounced dead at the hospital. Investigators later determined structural failure due to improper assembly and overloaded equipment. The venue is shut down. Lawsuits follow. Safety inspections become mandatory for similar event stages. The footage circulates with warnings attached. Proof that even standing still can be dangerous when safety is ignored. But sometimes, danger arrives before the ceremony even begins. The horse-drawn arrival. This wedding took place in North America, just outside a rustic venue chosen for its charm and old-world atmosphere. The bride and groom had planned a storybook entrance. A horse-drawn carriage. Slow wheels on gravel. A moment meant to feel timeless, romantic, and unforgettable. Guests lined the narrow path, phones raised, eager to capture the arrival. Music played nearby. People clapped and called out. The horses shifted in place, ears pinned back, muscles tense. The handler tightened his grip on the reins and tried to steady them. At the time, it seemed minor. In hindsight, it was the warning sign. The animals were already spooked by the noise, the crowd, and the unfamiliar setting. What they didn't realize was how quickly a startled animal can become uncontrollable. Video captures the moment clearly. The horses suddenly bolt forward. The carriage jerks violently. The groom loses his footing as the platform lurches beneath him. He falls directly into the path of the wheels. The handler shouts and pulls hard on the reins, but there's no time. The carriage rolls over the groom before it can be stopped. Screams erupt from the crowd. Some guests rush forward, unsure how to help. Others step back in shock. Still holding their phones, still recording. Emergency responders arrive within minutes, but the injuries are catastrophic. The groom is pronounced dead at the scene. Authorities later determined that the horses were inadequately controlled and that crowd placement made the situation even more dangerous. Poor event planning and animal handling are cited as contributing factors. In the aftermath, venues across the region moved to restrict or ban animal-drawn carriages at events. The video continues to circulate online, often accompanied by safety warnings. A fairy tale entrance became a fatal miscalculation in seconds, captured forever by the cameras meant to preserve joy. The balcony collapse. This wedding reception happened in an urban apartment building, the kind of place never designed for crowds or celebration on that scale. The ceremony itself had gone smoothly. Afterward, the party moved upstairs. Music echoed through narrow hallways. Alcohol flowed freely. As night fell, guests drifted toward the balcony to get a better view of distant fireworks lighting up the skyline. Phones were raised. Laughter filled the air. Glasses clinked. The groom stood near the railing with his arm around his new spouse, relaxed and smiling. This was the quiet moment between speeches and dancing, the kind people record without thinking twice. There was a warning sign, subtle enough to be dismissed. The balcony creaked under the growing weight. Someone laughed and joked about it. No one stepped back. No one questioned it. What they didn't realize was that the structure had already been compromised long before the wedding day. And video from multiple phones captures the collapse clearly. The railing snaps first. Then the entire balcony gives way in a single, violent motion. Several guests are pulled forward as the floor drops beneath them, falling multiple stories in seconds. Screams overwhelm the audio. Phones tumble mid-recording, spinning as they fall. The celebration vanishes instantly, replaced by panic and shock. Emergency services flood the area within minutes. First responders triage the injured in the street below. Multiple guests suffer broken bones and internal injuries. The groom is among the most severely injured. He sustains catastrophic trauma from the fall and is pronounced dead shortly after. Investigators later determined the balcony was never designed to hold that many people. Building code violations and long-ignored structural damage are cited as contributing factors. The footage is later used in public safety campaigns. Cities issue renewed warnings about overcrowding balconies during private events. A wedding reception turned into a mass casualty incident in less than 5 seconds, captured forever by the phones meant to remember it. The wedding prank. This wedding took place in Eastern Europe, on a warm afternoon meant to end with music, speeches, and a crowded reception hall. Instead, it ended before it began. Friends of the groom had planned what they believed was a harmless prank, a fake kidnapping. A few minutes of panic, followed by laughter, drinks, and a story everyone would tell for years. They had done something similar at other weddings. This time, they wanted it filmed. And cameras were already rolling. The groom was blindfolded, smiling at first, trusting the people around him completely. He laughed as they grabbed his arms and steered him away from the venue. Guests assumed it was part of the celebration. No one intervened. But the tone shifted quickly. Footage shows the groom stiffening, his steps slow. He resists slightly. Someone off camera tells him to relax. Another voice laughs and urges them to hurry. The blindfold stays on. What they didn't realize was that from the outside, this didn't look like a joke. A passerby sees a group of men forcing a struggling, blindfolded man toward a vehicle. No costumes, no visible signs of celebration. Just force and shouting. The passerby intervenes. The video shakes as voices rise. A struggle breaks out. Someone pulls away from the group. Another person produces a weapon. The moment happens fast, so fast that the camera barely catches it. A sudden movement, a shout, then chaos. The groom collapses. People rush in. Screams replace laughter. Someone drops the camera, but audio continues. Panic, confusion, someone yelling for an ambulance. Emergency services arrive within minutes, but the injuries are fatal. He is pronounced dead at the scene. Investigators later rule the death the result of reckless behavior and catastrophic misjudgment. Criminal charges follow. The prank footage is removed from most platforms, though copies still circulate. A joke meant to create memories instead became the final record of a life cut short. Before the marriage ever began, weddings are supposed to be remembered for joy. But these recordings preserve something else. How quickly celebration can become catastrophe. No tradition, no stunt, no clip is worth a life. If you want to continue, the next video breaks down celebrations that went wrong in even more unexpected ways.